Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 155 of the Planet Destiny podcast. We are your hosts, Mr. Nim Plays and TBL. And today, we've got something a little bit special for you. We're a few people down because Mega Magwitch is off being Daddy Magwitch. He's got that baby coming in. And Moon had some work and stuff to take care of. So we figured, you know what? Why don't we do something a little bit different for this week's episode? Rather than just have the two of us talking with our big blown up faces on Skype, why don't we sit back, we actually play a game, and then just kind of have a casual conversation between the two of us. And this is all Nim's idea, by the way, so if you like it, it's my idea. If you hate it, it's Nim's idea. Remember that. If you hate the way this looks, it was Nim's idea.
It's okay, I'll be the scapegoat.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you signing up for that. You taking that Kevlar shot. But we decided why not play some Destiny 1, since, you know, that's a pretty fun game, and talk a bit about some of the changes that are currently in effect and that are coming soon to the world of Destiny 2. Now, again, thank you, Polar Mind. Since this is a live stream and we're playing a game, we're looking at chat here, so if you listen to the audio version of this, you gotta get on those live streams. Polar Mind, great idea, TBL. See, you're my kind of yes man. You did exactly what I needed you to do. No, in all seriousness, this was all Nim's idea, and I thought this was a much better way of handling this week's episode rather than just talking, so props, man. Good job.
Thank you.
This is good. I like
this.
It's
gonna be fun. It's gonna be a good time.
I dig it. So we're gonna spend a little bit of time, since this was your idea. What were your plans for us here on Destiny 1?
You know, I miss the power fantasy, so let's go ahead and jump on in some heroic strikes and just give the enemies the hands.
Oh, you want to give hands?
I want to give hands.
I can do that. I can give hands all over the place. So
good.
So you joined up on me. I'm going to make you the fire team lead, since this is your thing. You're going to be in charge of this one.
There's so much pressure.
Yeah. We've been back playing Destiny 1 for quite a bit this week, haven't we?
Oh yeah, been having a lot of fun with it.
Absolutely.
Been a little bit absentee in Destiny 2, but man, I love me some Destiny 1 PvE. So,
it's good.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is the channel Planet Destiny. It's not exclusive to Destiny 1 or Destiny 2, so thankfully we can go back and play a little bit of the OG and experience some of that good that sometimes we feel like we're missing in the world of Destiny 2. But this is a podcast about all things Destiny, and there are some things that have been going on in the world of Destiny 2 this week. We had faction rallies last week. We had our victor. Do we know who won?
Dead Orbit, was it?
No. None of that dirt shader nonsense. Was it Future War Cult with their scout rifle?
Future Woo now?
Miss me with that. New Monarchy.
The
Repeat.
Trifecta.
We've got 3 rings, man. You can't stop it. You can't stop the New Monarchy regalia. It's too beautiful. You can't stop it. It's great. Yeah, so New Monarchy won, and that means we got our hands on that New Monarchy pulse rifle, which is like a... Did you pick that up, Nim? It's like a high impact frame pulse with like rampage and high cal. So
I did not. Also,
it's got the things it needs to be good.
Also,
it just needs
it looks like we're having that for the audio in the podcast. I apologize. You're coming in doubled right now.
I'm a little spooked by that.
Yeah,
I don't think I like it.
You're coming in apparently as a robot. Chat is saying. So this is the thing.
Never mind. I think I do like that.
This is the thing that happened with Moon and myself last time, and I'm a little spooked.
A little spooked by it.
Oh, you know what?
That's all right.
I think I may know why. Hold on, because I'm still using the display capture, not the window capture.
Oh, still using that for Skype now?
Yeah, that's what I was. You know what? You guys are not gonna see TBL for a hot second. Don't worry, he'll be right back.
Don't panic. But yeah, we've got this new high impact pulse rifle in for New Monarchy, which is neat. I think it'll be a bit better when, you know, changes to the pulse rifle class go into effect.
Right.
But right now, I mean, that it's kind of dependent on so many things are dependent on Sandbox changes that we really haven't heard anything from as of yet. But thankfully, I mean, at the end of this month, March 27th is, of course, when we're going to be getting those big Sandbox changes. And I mean, I've still got hope for good things coming from that.
Oh, absolutely.
Haven't really been given too much reason to worry about it. I know certainly John Wisniewski, you had a little bit of a celebrity moment, Nim. You got a little bit of a response from that guy on Twitter, didn't you?
Yeah, so I commented, I believe it was on Kevin Yanis. He had posted something and then Bone replied to him. And I was like, it's just a bummer that we have to wait until May to get all of the exotic buffs and whatnot. But John replied that, thank you for saying nice things. And
they don't get enough of that these days.
And to my surprise, they're using the tractor cannon in Nightfalls in their playtest. Tractor cannon, chat.
The tractor cannon in Nightfalls.
In Nightfalls, and they are apparently having a blast with it, which has me all sorts of excited and spooked at the same time.
That's a little weird. I mean, I don't know if I've ever used tractor cannon in anything PvE.
Right, other than to boop the occasional dreg.
I don't even know if I've used it for that.
Oh, you should. Chat, real quick, can you please let me know if the Autobot TBL has ceased?
What if I like being Autobot TBL? What if my childhood dream has always been to be Optimus Prime?
Oh, well, then you that's exactly what you are right now.
My name is Optimus Prime, leader of the Autobots.
No, apparently you're still
Schmieder
Autobot.
of men. Good, that's fine with me. I'm okay with being an Autobot.
Yeah. So, all right, it'll have to do for now. The audio portion of this and the VOD should be all right.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, so it's neat. John Wisniewski has certainly been on a bit of a trend these past couple of weeks. Doing little tweets and whatnot, talking about exotic weapons and stuff like that. Talking about how great the Sunshot is, and he just got a triple kill with the Sunshot's Firefly explosion, and Graviton Lance's explosion is so huge now. And yeah, I mean, I want Graviton Lance to be good. That was one of the guns that I got, and I was actually super excited for, because in the early streams for D2, they talked about Graviton Lance, and they had I remember the article that came out about it. They're like, it's this void pulse rifle that shoots a shot that creates a black hole that explodes and just destroys everything around it. And I thought, that sounds incredible. This is the exact type of thing I want. And unfortunately, it just kind of hasn't really created too many great moments like that. It hasn't hit that power fantasy just yet. So I'm super happy to hear that they're changing it. But at the same time, we're into March now. We've got 3-4 weeks until the Sandbox update comes out, and I kind of want to hear some specific things. Like, what exactly are you changing about this stuff?
Yeah, we are definitely getting a lot closer to the Sandbox, and I'm hoping that this upcoming week they're going to start, telling us a little bit more about what's coming. What are we going to see? Because we're 6 months into the game, and the Sandbox has pretty much remained the same up until this point. So, we're getting to the point where we just need a little bit more information onto what's changing, how things are going to feel and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, hype is fine, and I'm loving the tweets by Wisniewski. I want to know what specific changes are coming to certain exotics, but at the same time, we are 6 months going on 7 months into the game's release.
Yeah,
and we've yet to have really our first Sandbox update. And something that Bungie was pretty specific about before D2 came out was that because of the changes to the game and the engine and all that kind of stuff, that it was going to make updating the Sandbox easier. That was a specific claim.
Yeah.
That we would be getting more frequent Sandbox updates. And here we are, almost 7 months in, and haven't even gotten our first one.
This is where we need that SpongeBob transition.
2 months later.
Yes, that's where that comes in. It's really shocking. It was a good pal by the name of Twisted Logic who brought that to my attention. It's like, didn't they say that they were going to be able to push updates a lot quicker? Like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah, you're right.
And
yeah, you're right.
And 7 months, nothing. Nada.
And I wonder what the reason for that is, because they had confidence in their engine
right
before the game came out. So I wonder if it's just a case of, I don't know, maybe the blowback from some of the aspects of D2 when it comes to like weapon balance and the weapon system and whatnot, and them just needing a bit more time to kind of rework things into a manner that players would enjoy a bit more.
Yeah.
Or if it's just still as hard as it was back in D1 to get all this stuff worked out. Maybe they overestimated their ability to put out frequent updates.
You know what?
You look at.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, because you look at a game like Overwatch, which gets almost monthly updates to its balance and its sandbox. And while, it's not always fair to say, oh, well, PUBG has updates all the time. Yeah, right, it's PUBG. Or like Fortnite has updates all the time. Why can't Bungie push out updates? Well, it's not apples to apples there.
Yeah.
They're completely different games with completely different architectures. But at some point, you'd have to say, yeah, well, we were supposed to be getting more frequent updates, and we're not.
Right. And
I have to wonder what the reason for that is.
Part of me wants to believe that they had an update in mind and they had a sandbox in mind for season 2, but because of just how slow everything has been, I don't think they probably had the changes that they have now planned at the time. And again, this is all me assuming and trying to make sense of things, because again, we really don't know a whole lot about how things go behind the scenes, but with the community, wanting the game to feel faster, to bring back that power fantasy, there's a lot to take into consideration in terms of weapons, exotics, abilities, and how they play out in both PvE and PvP. Make sure one's not broken over the other. So I'm sure there's a lot of data collecting that they have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I would agree with that. And I'd imagine, like, some of the blowback to Bungie from from the way D2's panned out probably caught them by surprise. And I get the feeling they had a lot of faith in the dual primary system and the slower grenade recharge and the 4v4 and all this stuff that they worked so hard on. And it just hasn't really panned out the way they wanted it to.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine, for significant changes, we've always maintained that for a change to like the weapon system, the dual primary system, to go back to like a primary, secondary, heavy sort of system, that would take a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
A long time.
That's a really, really heavy retuning that they would have to do. Something
no kidding.
Something that we probably wouldn't see up until either a major expansion or possibly even a sequel. Or Destiny 3.
Yeah, and I really, being realistic, I wouldn't expect any sort of systemic change like that to come until like the fall.
Yeah.
But yeah. Maybe, the sequel, I really hope that's not the case, because Destiny 2, it feels like it just came out. It's been 6.5 months, but it feels like it just came out. And to already say, well, this one's done, we gotta move on into the hope for the best from the sequel. I don't really like the feel of that. And thankfully, we do have an expansion, a bigger expansion coming later this year, that is going to kind of give Bungie the opportunity to have their Taken King moment with Destiny 2, in which they revamp a lot of the things that need to be revamped, and there's a lot of things that do need to be revamped. And hopefully we'll see some of those changes coming hopefully before that, but probably by the time that expansion comes out.
Yeah.
And I really feel like that's probably one of the reasons why the whole, hey, we can push out more frequent sandbox changes, got pushed to the side.
Yeah.
They thought, okay, well, we have a lot of stuff to fix here, and yes, they do.
You know, like one of the things as well is to note, at least, is the fact that Mods 2.0 got pushed further back now.
Yeah.
And you know, it leaves you to think what they're going to do with the system, whether they're moving on with mods or if they're going to revert to random rolls, because again, that's something that the community has been clamoring for as well. And in reality, you know, that's something that kept D1 very much alive for
absolutely.
Yeah, for a good amount of its duration.
That grind.
Yeah.
We had a lot of complaints about randomized rolls. I like to think I've been fairly consistent. I might not have been. For the people in the audience here who have been listening to the podcast for a long time, feel free to call me out. I like to believe that my stance was always, there was a certain level of RNG that was in D1 that was a little excessive. When you have weapons, hold on, I'll demonstrate this. At least we can demonstrate this. They're watching you, so you can press start and inspect a weapon to take a look. When you have weapons in D1, most of them had, 4 different perk slots? They had your sights, you had your tier 1 perk, you had your tier 2 perks, the middle tree, and then your tier 3 perks. And all of that was RNG. It was RNG based on what sights you would get. It was RNG based on what tier 1 perks you would get, what mid-tier perks you would get, what entry perks you would get. You can get an Iasaluna, and it would have maybe True Sight or Sure Shot, which is the aim assist boosting sight. Great. The second tree would have, Rangefinder or Outlaw or something. Great. The final tree would have, I think the final tree, third tree, had Rangefinder on it. But it doesn't have Rifled Barrel. You gotta scrap it and come back later.
Yeah.
The next one you get has Rangefinder and Rifled Barrel, but it doesn't have the sight you want. It was kind of RNG on top of RNG on top of RNG. And I always felt like that was a little bit excessive in D2. And I felt like they could tone down the RNG a little bit. But overall, I think random rolls, maybe not integral to a game like this, but certainly very important, because you're absolutely right. Random rolls elongate the grind. That grind everybody remembers that grind for the perfect roll. Everybody remembers farming for an Imago loop that was perfect. Everybody remembers going into PvP to farm for that perfect Iasaluna or a Hopscotch Pilgrim in strikes and whatnot.
Yeah, or the Grasp of Malak.
Oh yeah, that was a huge moment.
That was a big one.
At 6 or 7 months into the Taken King, Bungie finally had Omnigul be the Nightfall strike, and everybody just went in for that weekend, doing nothing but Omnigul and trying to get the Grasp of Malak. Yeah. There's something fun to that. That's part of the experience of a looter shooter like this. And I always felt like, I understand the complaints against RNG for the perks on your weapons, and I think there could have been ways around that. But I always felt like the randomized rolls was overall a better system than the static perks we have right now.
Right.
There could have been improvements there, and I always told myself this throughout the lifespan of D1, that what they should do is eventually allow you to customize rolls on weapons and just make it pretty cost prohibitive. Yeah. Make it cost a ton of legendary shards or whatnot, and a bunch of gunsmith materials like we had in D1, although they could have changed it up a little bit rather than just rolling all the perks on a gun.
Right.
But
an alternative to that, I don't know if have you ever played Borderlands 2?
Yeah, Borderlands 2 is one of the greatest looter shooters of all time.
Exactly. So, let's take an example with, let's take a look at Grasp of Malak or something like in Borderlands 2. For example, one of my personal favorite weapons that you get from the bunker, the bitch.
Yep.
So, in that game, it was exactly like in Destiny's style, where you go in and you farm the boss for a very minute chance at getting a exclusive weapon that drops from that boss, and it drops with random perks. It drops with a random element, and it drops with a random whatchamacallit, because they vary in degree, the perks that the actual weapon has. And that's something that has transcended throughout like the history, and then we saw it in Borderlands, we saw it in Destiny 1, but now that's completely gone in Destiny 2, taking away that grinding element immediately. Because let's say if they because when they start bringing in those strike exclusive weapons or the Nightfall exclusive weapons, it's going to be one of those where you get it and then you never have to do that Nightfall again, because there's
one and done.
Exactly. You've already gotten that. There's no point in doing that again. And that just completely negates a lot of the the fun and an incentive to redo that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great example because it's one Bungie themselves brought up. Your 10th better devils doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean a thing. And that's kind of that's kind of a problem that Destiny 2 finds itself in right now. There's nothing that makes those weapon drops unique. When once you've gotten your forge weapons, that's it. Once you've gotten better devils, that's it. Once you've gotten Nameless Midnight, that's it. Yeah. There's nothing about it. And I always said that if you're gonna have a game with set roles, like all the weapons have set perks, then your game needs to have an absolute metric ton of loot.
Yes.
It has to have an almost unending flow of loot in order to keep players engaged with that content. And unfortunately right now Destiny 2 doesn't. It has a pretty average loot pool, and of that loot pool, very few of the guns are the ones that people consider top tier.
Right.
And there's nothing really special about it. There's nothing to get you excited about that 10th or 11th or 12th better devils. Whereas in D1, all of those better devils could have been something unique. You could have had a better devils that function like an old cheesy Luck in the Chamber roll from D1. You could have had your PvE better devils where it was a mixture of like explosive rounds and outlaw.
Yeah.
You could have had your PvP better devils where it has as much range as possible, plus maybe like a reload speed or a reload speed buff or something on it. And that's kind of what we're missing in D2 right now. That level of customization and that carrot on the stick to grind for when it comes to some of the loot.
Yep.
And I thought the same thing when we got the notice of... I love that we're getting Nightfall-specific loot. I love that we're getting Strike-specific gear and specifically Nightfall-specific stuff back. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is exactly the kind of thing I want to see going forward because it's fun. It's something to grind for. But unless there is a change to the way these weapons work, whether it's allowing you to customize the rolls on your guns or just bringing back some level of randomization when it comes to perk pools... Yeah, you're gonna get that strike-specific gear once, and it's gonna be it.
Yep.
That's gonna be it. There's gonna be no other incentive for you to run a strike or run a strike well, especially if I have a feeling one of the things they're gonna do is they're gonna make it so that some of that Nightfall-specific gear is only gonna drop from Prestige, which I would be fine with the changes that they've brought to Prestige mode, which we'll talk about in just a bit. I really like them, and I think that would be fine, but you're not going to have much of an incentive to run Prestige after you've gotten that gear.
Yeah, exactly. And they have to see this. They have to know that, this is an issue in the game. And again, it's something that I'm hoping they address at least, during the fall expansion. Because, if, on the exception that was today that I needed, not needed, but I felt a desire to hop onto D2 and just kind of catch up my my characters on PC. I don't have a reason to run a Nightfall. I don't have a reason to run a raid because of, I think one of the topics that we were talking about earlier on in the week was so how some of the weapons, for example, like in Wrath of the Machine. During the time where you couldn't change the elements of it, how you can in D2, they were their utility was so good that it made you want to go back into that raid and try and get, the solar version, the arc version,
a different element version of all of them.
Exactly, yep. And the armor itself, because at the time we had the intellect, discipline, strength build. People went in those raids to try and get gear for them to get, what was it, tier 12?
Yeah, to get tier 12 so you could have your maximum reduced cooldowns on everything.
Yeah. So, I mean...
that was a grind in and of itself.
Yeah, and I can't imagine that they don't see that, and they, you know, they're blinded by that. So I'm hoping that we see that come back.
Yeah, I mean, we know it was an effort to more casualize the in-game experience.
Yeah. And
I understand that, but at the end of the day, if players don't have a reason to play, they're not going to.
Right.
That's kind of what it comes down to, and thankfully, that's been a pretty well put out message from the community since D2 came out. So I'd imagine Bungie has to be aware of it. They have to be aware of it, and I'd imagine they have to be doing something about it. When it comes to armor, I almost forgot about the whole tier 12 thing. That was part of the in-game grind for D1. I forgot about doing that. I don't know if I would want specific like randomized stats on armor to come back.
Right.
I don't know if I think Bones used to talk about this on the podcast.
It wouldn't really work anyways because you can with the whole masterwork deal, you can already kind of do that.
That's what should replace that.
Right.
Yeah. I think the masterwork system, which overall I give all the praises in the world to Bungie for it. The masterwork system is great. I love it. Yeah. I would like to see improvements to it. Something Bones used to talk about all the time is that he would run a raid, and he would get all that content done, and it'd be super hard. And then, like, all the armor he would get from it would be, like, terrible stats.
Yeah.
Just absolutely bun stats. I wouldn't want to see that return. But, like you said, the masterwork system has kind of supplanted that.
Yeah.
And it's good. We know masterworks are going to be seeing some sort of change coming in the future. They saw a change not too long ago where Bungie, I think actually in this update, they bumped up the defense you get from Masterworks while you're in your super from 3% per piece to 5%, which takes you from a maximum of 15% damage mitigation to 25% damage mitigation.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That's big.
That's massive. And, the mod system, I would love it if they changed the mod system up to where basically mods in the future give you kind of some of the utility that you had with strength, intellect, and discipline back in Destiny 1, where you get those reduced cooldowns to your grenades, maybe your ability, kind of like what they have now, but more powerful. I think the fastest you can get your cooldowns back in D2 is like, what, a minute, 9 seconds?
Yeah.
Compare that to D1, where it's 25 seconds if you're not getting kills or activating any other ability.
Yeah. Oh, man. But, we do have Iron Banner returning this week.
We do. That's going to be seeing some changes. Now, Iron Banner in the future is going to be a 6v6 game mode. That's not happening this coming week. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, Iron Banner's back to 6v6, not yet. That's happening sometime in the future. Maybe when the March update later this month comes out. But yeah, Iron Banner is coming back, and it's going to be Clash this time around. Starting on March 6th, going to March 13th, Lord Saladin's going to be back in the tower. You're going to be able to engage in the Iron Banner game mode, and he's brought some brand new weapons for you to go for this time around. I do believe it's like the pulse rifle, the grenade launcher, and maybe the auto rifle.
Yeah.
This time around, which is cool. I like Iron Banner, and I think the pulse rifle. It's either the pulse or the auto rifle. They have. I looked it up before when this was announced during the TWAB. One of them has really good perks, and I want to get my hands on it. So I'm actually going to be playing some D2 Iron Banner, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that grenade launcher is going to be top tier.
Single shot grenade launcher.
The single shot grenade launcher.
We take those here. Obviously, the greatest tier of weapons in Destiny 2. Unquestioned top tier. I'm sure Cammy Cakes, I think he will defend to the death the validity of those weapons.
But quick notes to the Twitch chat. I apologize if the audio is coming in a little bit muggy. That's Skype for you.
Yeah, that's what you get for not using Discord.
Yeah, which we probably should have. I should have thought of that in the first place before we started it, but.
Well, I mean, Discord doesn't allow for synchronized video, does it? I think it does the whole, like, Google Plus thing where it shows one person talking and then the next.
Well, it shows, for this, it would have not really mattered because it's just you and I.
That's true. That's true.
But next time, if there's next time. So there
will be a next time. I like this.
The audio version of this podcast will have much better audio. So I apologize for the live chat if the audio comes in a little bit muggy now and then. It's Skype.
Yeah, ain't nothing you can do about it. It's just that old Skype program.
Yeah, but so we are seeing once Iron Banner comes back, it looks like it's going to be back when 1.1.4 deploys, or at least that's what I gathered from the TWAB. Well, that's when it's gonna change with the 6v6. They're also reverting Iron Banner back to some of more its classic feel to it.
What do you mean by that?
So the respawn, so all the control zones are now going to spawn neutral, meaning you're going to have to capture your first zone when you start. And now we're going to see an influx of people just taking off and leaving the first spot uncapped. So get ready for that, guys.
That was an interesting change. I wonder what prompted them to do that, because, of course, when Destiny 2 came out, they made a change to control where you no longer had to capture your neutral point. If you spawned on A, you didn't have to capture it. If you spawned on C, you didn't have to capture it. You could just make your initial rush towards B.
Yeah, go for that B line. So
yeah, now you got to capture your points, man. You got to play that OBJ.
Yep, now you got to capture your point. Control zones will take a little bit longer to capture by default. And now we're going back to where additional guardians standing on the point will make it go a little bit faster. But it caps off at 3. So if you got 4 people there, you got 1 person too many.
We're basically right back to the way control worked in Destiny 1.
Yes.
Back in D1, you had to capture your neutral point, and control points would capture faster the more people were standing on it.
Yeah.
And really, I don't know, is this coming to all control modes, or is it just Iron Banner?
So it looks like they only mention Iron Banner. So when they mention it, they do say that Iron Banner will channel that old school Crucible in the style of the Iron Lord. So it looks like it's going to be Iron Banner. Here's hoping that it will apply to standard control as well in the future.
We'll see. I'm actually okay with this.
Yeah, I'm completely fine with that. Because again, give me more of that old school feel with Destiny. All of that is always welcome. And they do mention that Rumble will make it a triumphant return into Destiny 2 with a big kicker, with an increased player count to 8.
Holy schmoly. There's a lot to unpack with that. So Rumble's coming back. It's going to be 8-player Rumble.
8 player.
And I'm not exactly sure how to process that. I'm not sure if that means it's going to be more hectic, or if I'm going to be getting more assisted kills.
Well, the thing with that is that now in Rumble, there are no more assists. It's going to be when you get a kill, that is your kill. If you kind of shot at him and somebody else took it, you got to hold that L, baby.
Just got to hold that. You got to clean up your kills, man.
Yep.
Got to clean up your kills. You got to watch your corners and clean up your kills. And I saw a lot of interesting conversation going on because of this. The community kind of seems to be of two minds when it comes to the change to Rumble. One half says, oh, that's awesome. There's going to be more people. It's going to be more chaotic.
Yep.
The other half says, are they adding more people to Rumble because they're not changing time to kill?
Ooh. Ooh. I'm hoping that's not the case.
Me too.
I'm hoping that's not the case.
As somebody who has been enjoying Destiny 1 this past week, I really hope that's not the case too. Because it still feels like it takes a little bit too long to get to clean up your kills in D2.
Yeah.
And I'm all for more chaos in the Crucible. And certainly 8-man Rumble. Holy crap. That's gonna be different, and I think it's gonna be different in a good way. But I'm hoping it goes alongside a lessened, I guess, time to kill.
Yeah. Yeah, on a
greater overall weapon output.
On a better sandbox, ideally. Some of the maps is going to be very interesting to see 8 people roaming around. For example, like in Javelin 4 or in Burnout, you know, having 8 people running around in a free-for-all, that's going to be insanely hectic, which I'm a fan of because with everything that they've been teasing so far in terms of exotic weapon balance, I'm very interested to see in some of the plays people are going to be getting, for example, with this hyped up Graviton Lance or Sunshot. It's going to be great.
Like, see, I can imagine something like Sunshot if it's got like a buff Firefly effect or whatnot.
Yeah.
You pop, I mean, people in Rumble, every man for himself, you're going to have a lot of shaky encounters where you run into more than one Guardian and you don't know which one to fight. I can imagine a couple situations where everybody's a little low on health and somebody with a Sunshot cleans up that precision kill and boom, everybody around them explodes.
It's gonna be
that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
That sounds awesome, and I can't wait to learn more about some of those sandbox changes. Hopefully soon. We know the sandbox changes are going into effect later this month, at least assuming nothing else changes and they have to delay things.
Oh my god, I cannot see them being able to afford another delay in the sandbox.
That would be rough PR for them.
Yeah. They do go on to mention that Mayhem is still Mayhem.
Yep.
But I don't think they're bringing Mayhem back until they figure out a fix on the Infinite Nova Bomb glitch for Warlocks. And and they do go on to mention that doubles will return. However, right now it's currently in a chrysalis stage. It's evolving into a new iteration. So don't expect to see doubles show up on the weekly rotating playlist anytime soon. So just
that sounds to me like they're tuning the cooldowns.
Oh yeah.
Because
I mean, most likely it probably won't even have those cooldowns in standard doubles because you know I think that was a Crimson Days buff.
Yeah. So it's interesting that we do know it's going to be coming back as part of a rotating playlist,
right?
With Mayhem, which I will stop and say I'm happy about.
Yeah.
Initially, they said that Mayhem was going to come back as like a special monthly event sort of thing.
Yeah.
Every now and again, I was not happy with that. That is not what I wanted Mayhem to be.
Yeah.
Mayhem, I still maintain, is the most fun I've had in Destiny 2's PvP.
Oh yeah, Mayhem and doubles, have been a blast to play.
Easily. And so I'm really happy that they're bringing Mayhem back in a more regular mode.
Yeah.
It is going to be part of a rotating playlist, so kind of like it is in Destiny 1 right now, where you have these weekly rotating playlists. One week it might be Mayhem, another week it might be Combined Arms or something like that.
Right.
I'm okay with that. I'm all right with it. It's better than having it be like a once in a while sort of event that pops up like Faction Rally and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
you know on top of there's been some talk in the community, and I saw Triple Rec make a mention that meanwhile having these rotating playlists was a good thing. That he's still a little disappointed that he can't physically pick out the activity that he wants, and it's completely understandable. I see where he's coming from, absolutely.
I can agree with that.
But I think one of the reasons why that is that right now Destiny just has such a low active player base. Adding multiple playlists into an already diminished player base, it's just going to make matchmaking take so long. So instead of scattering people around in multiple playlists, just have the one weekly rotating where a good majority of the people are going to be, because let's be frank, I think everybody's a little bit sick of going into quick play expecting control, but 5 supremacy matches later.
Supremacy.
Yeah. So
yeah. I think that's probably right on the money. If they gave us suddenly we have the doubles playlist, we have the Mayhem playlist, we have the Clash playlist. I think Mayhem would be the most popular.
Yeah.
But it would definitely with the player numbers we have right now. Yeah, that would kind of cut the community down quite a bit.
Yeah.
and matchmaking would be a bit of a nightmare.
Right.
Bit of a nightmare. So I'm okay with a weekly rotating playlist of game modes. After all, it's what we have in D1 right now, and I'm okay with it in D1.
Yeah, I mean, at least for now.
Yeah, for now.
You know, they still have to try and get their alt core player base to come back again. So, you know, hopefully these are the proper steps into that, and maybe in the future we'll be able to see, you know, if you want to play Control, hey, go play Controller. If you want to go play, you know, Clash, go play Clash, in the style that Destiny 1 had.
And, you know, plus we've got private games coming sometime soon. I don't know if that's in the March update, but that's supposed to be coming sometime in the future. So
yeah, I gotta take a look at
customization and whatnot.
I gotta take a look at the roadmap because I can't remember if it's in March or May. I'm inclined to say May.
Probably with the expansion and whatnot.
Yeah.
Or the DLC coming out. And that's all well and good. But for right now, I think you're right. I think having a rotating playlist for weekly stuff is probably their best bet.
Yeah, for sure. But other than that, you know, the Nightfalls, the Nightfalls
had some Nightfall changes.
Got updated. They got each individual emblems based on different scorings that you can get now.
Now, I think we talked a little bit about this on stream earlier in the week, but which one is your favorite of the Nightfall emblems? Because we've gotten a look at all of them.
I would probably have to say, I think it's called the Tree of Probabilities. It's the one with the giant Vex Cyclops.
Yep. Tree of Probabilities.
Yeah.
Really cool strike. I like that one.
Yeah, it's a really neat strike, and that probably has my favorite emblems. I was really looking forward to see what the Savathun song emblems were going to be, and then they were not what I was hoping they were to be, and I was like, well then. Yeah. You know, we did talk about this last week in the podcast where the Nightfall scoring was ultimately just an icing on the cake without the actual cake being there yet. So
yes, it is a garnish.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think there's not a whole lot to really delve into that right now. You know, you can start a regular Nightfall, and once you get that, you'll get your Nightfall challenge card, and with that card you'll be able to add modifiers onto the prestige, whether if it's to add a singe burn, and if all your teammates die you get kicked back to orbit, or you can modify your power level, but it'll decrease your power level, but in turn it'll increase your score multiplier in the strike, and depending on what you get, it'll affect your score, and depending on your score you'll get the appropriate emblem for it.
Correct. Yep.
And again, it's a neat little garnish. I'm gonna wait until we get those Nightfall weapons back into back into the game.
Something to run the Nightfalls for.
Yeah, exactly. So that came out this week. Of course, as expected, Datto and the top players have been going crazy and getting some unreal scores. I think they got to like 120K or something ridiculous.
Yeah, they blew it out of the water, and really interesting. I watched a lot of people stream the Nightfall and the Prestige Nightfall.
Yeah.
Overall, I guess what I'll say is I like the changes to the Nightfall. It's good stuff. The whole strike scoring is fun. It's what we had in this game you're watching right here, Destiny 1. It's very fun. I like having that as the metric for win-loss rather than, an arbitrary timer system that makes things artificially more difficult. That's all the timer system did in D2. It was a way to kind of bump up the difficulty without really changing anything in the game. I agree. It's a garnish. It's icing on top of a nothing cake. Yeah. It's like they just walked up, they handed you this beautiful plate with this really nice frosting and maybe like a cherry or a strawberry on top, but it's just a plate of frosting. There's no cake there. There's nothing for you to chase.
Yeah.
So you don't really have a reason to go in there. It's kind of putting the cart before the horse a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do like the changes. One thing I will say that caught me by surprise was the removal of modifiers from from the normal version of the Nightfall.
Right.
That was something that was not telegraphed by Bungie very well, in my opinion, in the weeks leading up to this. So when the update came out and I hopped into the game and tried to hop into a Nightfall, it caught me by surprise that there were no Nightfalls. And basically what the Nightfall is now, the normal Nightfall, the non-prestige Nightfall, is basically just a super hard heroic strike now. It's something that you run initially to get your challenge card drop so that you can go and play the prestige Nightfall, which has modifiers. That's the purpose of the normal Nightfall now. I do believe they bring that up in the TWAB, and I'll bring that up and just give you their words here. They ask a question, why were base Nightfall modifiers removed? Well, the dev team says this. The removal of the base modifiers from Nightfall is because we want to emphasize core combat in its initial release and let the community define the meta for high-scoring Nightfall runs. We can certainly revisit the modifiers in the future. They're not dead and buried. We're open to player feedback. And to that, I would say I fundamentally disagree with the removal of modifiers from the normal Nightfall. It's kind of like, in my opinion, the shoulder charge change. It's something nobody was asking for.
Right.
At least nobody that I know of was sitting there saying, man, these Nightfalls, man, if we could just get rid of the modifiers, that would be great. I just want it to be a kind of bland, harder, heroic strike. I don't think anybody was really asking for that. And I would disagree that that's what normal Nightfall should be. The Nightfall, if that was the case, people would just go run normal heroics right now, which also don't have modifiers.
Right.
Nightfalls were always meant to be kind of the in-game challenge for strikes, and modifiers kind of added into that fantasy, that both the power fantasy of you being able to deal, double or triple damage with small arms and like void burn, like what we've got right now, or taking that extra damage for enemies and whatnot. It was high risk, high reward. And it's something that has been like kind of heavily missed in D2 right now. The modifiers in D2 Nightfalls are certainly a far cry from what we had in D1. Thankfully, they're working on that, even so much as the stuff with the Prestige Nightfall. But I would argue that Nightfalls should have some sort of base modifier on them. That modifier can rotate like normal Nightfalls did back in D1 and in D2. Like, some weeks have
just
Torrent,
real quick, I
great.
have lost complete audio. I cannot hear you at all right now.
I'm a little spooked.
Yeah.
I mean, I can hear you.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, I completely lost you for a sec.
But you can hear me now?
Yes, now I can hear you.
I was just talking about Nightfalls and how they don't have modifiers and how I think that's a bit of a misstep. I think they should kind of roll that back and add modifiers back to the Nightfall and maybe give them just some kind of standard modifier like Torrent or something. But I like the changes, and I'm glad they mention in the TWAB that they're open to changes. This is just a test run. Modifiers for normal Nightfalls aren't dead and gone. They can change that back. And right now, I would say if you agree with me, if you're somebody who thinks that the normal Nightfall should have modifiers in it, now is the time to make your voice heard.
Yep.
Politely, kindly go to Twitter and talk to the community managers and let them know that we want modifiers put back in. If that's something you want. If you like modifier or Nightfalls without modifiers, feel free to tell them the opposite. Tell them good job, keep it the way it is. But for me personally, I'm putting out the message. I'm putting out the message that that modifiers should return to the normal Nightfall, and I really hope they do. Prestige.
Yes.
I'm really happy with the changes to Prestige. I think the whole challenge card system is great. I think the way that you can activate your own sort of modifiers, and they have the kind of burn from Destiny 1 back as a singe, and this really interesting modifier where you can actually lower your Guardian's power. You can lower your power level, which means you take way more damage from enemies, but you get score modifiers. So you can get like double the point growth and whatnot. And I think that's really cool, that kind of really embodies the whole high risk, high reward sort of thing. You want more power, you can have more power. You want to gain points faster, you can do that, but it's going to cost you something.
Right.
I think I watched a lot of people do the Prestige Nightfall, and it looked like an absolute ton of fun. I played through it, and I really enjoyed the changes to it. It made for a lot of really interesting combinations with like activating Solar Singe and then whipping out your Prometheus lens, and then just going into a Devour build with Warlock. Is some really fun stuff, and I all the accolades to Bungie for that one. The prestige system with the challenge cards is cool. And I gotta say, I agree with Toffee Mug. This is why public test realms would be good. So we could get this feedback out to Bungie in kind of, a quarantined live environment rather than them just kind of throwing darts at the board and seeing which one sticks.
Right.
But, like I was saying, hopefully chat can hear me now. Now's the time to make your voice heard. If you want modifiers back on the normal Nightfall, tell them politely and kindly.
Yes.
That's what you want. And certainly, I don't know if you have a different opinion, Nim, but for me, I want modifiers back on the normal Nightfall.
No, I agree. And like you said, for me, a Nightfall, when I think of a Nightfall, it takes me back to the D1 difficulty of a Nightfall, being one of the end game things, activity that people could run. And taking the modifiers away does seem it seems a little strange. It is a weird design choice. I'm glad that they are open about them just testing the waters with that a little bit. I would like to see them return, because again, there I go. A Nightfall should be difficult, and if you want an additional challenge, that's where the prestige comes in, and the Nightfall challenge card. And like you said, that's a really good system that they have right there. So with it,
I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, so bring back the modifiers, man. Bring them back, and Nightfalls are gonna be fun to run, especially once those weapons are out and about.
Once there's some rewards for running it, absolutely.
Yeah.
With this new system, especially if they go back and change the way Nightfalls work, with the modifiers and whatnot, I'll absolutely be back to doing what I was doing through D1 every week, running Nightfalls on all my characters. And shoot, Bungie will have done something really spectacular there in getting me to run Prestige Nightfalls. I've only ever run like one or two throughout the entirety of Destiny 2 because I don't really feel a need to run them.
Yeah.
And if they can get this fine tuned a little bit better, then I'll be back running Nightfalls every single week.
Yep.
And so I think it's really important. I said it a couple times, but it's really important to give them that feedback now, and give them a pat on the back for the changes that they've made that are good, and hit them with the kind of changes we'd like to see moving forward. Once Nightfalls are worth running again, once we've got some gear and whatnot to go chasing after, and they tweak a few little things, maybe add a few more toggleable modifiers to the challenge card. I would love it if, oh my gosh, could you imagine if they added other modifiers to the prestige thing? Like, we've already got burns on it. What if they added small arms to it?
Oh yeah, that would be.
You can toggle small arms, but you take 1.5 more or 1.5 times more damage from enemies.
Yeah, small arms, light switch, grounded, airborne, all of the modifiers that were in D1, and there's no need to to change or rebrand the name of the modifiers. Just bring it back, because those were fun.
They were working.
Yeah, they were working, and they make certain things fun. Like, for example, if you were to have I believe it was airborne in D1, where whenever you jump, you do additional damage. It gives exotics, for example, the warlock, the chest piece that allows you to hover. It gives it some type of viability in endgame material, because I really don't see a whole lot of people running that chest piece, or for example, the stompies with hunters. That thing sends you flying high. More modifiers would be great. And like everything else in D2, this is the beginning of something that will most likely evolve down the line. Yeah.
They've got a good base system here.
Yeah.
And with a couple more tweaks, it could be something really, really spectacular. Yeah. On the level of the kind of Nightfall fun we had back in this game right here, Destiny 1.
Yeah.
They've got a road forward, and King Gathalion made a video today that I thought was really good, just talking about his position on Destiny and streaming and changing and becoming a variety. Well, he's always been a variety streamer.
Yeah.
Being a variety streamer. And one of the things he said was that while Destiny 2 is in a rough spot, he has absolute faith that Bungie can right the ship. We've seen it happen before. And it's not like the base game of Destiny 2 is bad. It's got what it needs to be super successful.
Yeah.
There just are some changes that do need to be made, and thankfully Bungie seems to be, the meme is we're listening, but thankfully they seem to be adhering to that.
Yeah.
And actively moving forward to change the game to shape it more towards what players would want. And I've got a lot of I've got some high hopes for it.
Yeah.
Very high hopes.
Me too. One of the things that I like to remember people is that Bungie is going back on a lot of the things that they were really adamant on when they presented Destiny 2.
Yep.
Like a strict 4v4 format for all Crucible activities, and whatchamacallit? The oh my god, why am I blanking out on this one? The weapon format and the mods.
The mod system.
The mod system. Mm-hmm. So they are making a lot of changes on which they were set. It's like, that's going to be the way it is for the game. Like, it's not changing. And now they're backtracking to a lot of that. And again, and that's all come down to the voice of the community. And
yeah.
Again, you just gotta keep talking to them, like people don't, don't go in there with pitchforks and torches, because ultimately, I mean, as we've seen the last couple of weeks, the developers being a lot more open to change.
We want that to continue.
Yeah.
And the feedback is important. It's very, very important. And being clear with your feedback is also something that's big and important. I see a lot of times people attribute negative intentions to Bungie for some of the changes that they've made with D2. Remember, their goal with D2, when making a lot of the changes that haven't really panned out for the best over the past 6 or 7 months, their goal was never to destroy Destiny.
Right.
Their goal was never to hurt this game. This game is their baby.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, as much as we as the community care about this game, I guarantee you the devs at Bungie care more than you do.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely guarantee it. And they they want to make the game better, and they want to make it something that's not only worth your time to play, but something that you want to play.
Yeah,
and that's why feedback is important. That's why making your voice heard is important.
Yeah,
but you gotta remember to not be negative with it, to not be vicious with it, because that doesn't do anybody any good.
Ultimately, this is a product and labor of work, hard work, artists, sound people, engineer. It's like somebody would walk into your work or your job or wherever you go and just look at you and be like, that is the shittiest thing I've ever seen. Or like, you do such a poor job of, whatever it is that you do. And these developers, and particularly Bungie, are exposed to that kind of commentary on a daily basis. Yeah. So it's important to remember that when providing feedback on a game, you're providing feedback on people, what people had in their mind and they're putting into the game. So you got to remember to keep it civil.
Yeah, and I see Yatsen in the chat here, and he's saying they should be able to handle criticism. Criticism is absolutely 115% good for a gaming company, for any company. Constructive criticism is good.
Yes. Constructive criticism is one thing.
Constant insults, death threats, and flippant negativity is a different thing entirely from criticism.
Yeah.
Dude, do you see how salty we get on this show? We are all about criticizing Bungie, or at least I am. Me and my boy Mega are all about criticizing Bungie and levying criticism their way. I like to think it's fair criticism.
Yeah.
But remember, your criticism has to have a point. It can't just be an insult.
It just can't be like, this game is all garbage. I don't want to play this garbage anymore. Just bleh. Like, no.
Yeah.
Tell me
people
what
being
don't you
crazy
like.
is definitely no bueno, yachts.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, they are changing a lot of things that were set on. So I'm glad that they're taking that approach into the game.
Yeah, you know, and there's a lot of good that can be done. I will say, I have basically started kind of an internal clock. I'm counting down the number of days they go before we hear about actual sandbox changes. I was really hoping we would hear about them in last week's TWAB, but that wasn't the case. Okay, 1 week down. This next week is going to be our first real week into March.
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping we start to hear sequentially about some of the sandbox changes that are coming. Changes to time to kill, or whatever Bungie's internal term for weapon damage output is. Not just in PvP, but in PvE as well. I still feel like our weapons in PvE are a little on the weak side.
Yeah.
When I can't one-shot a thrall with a legendary scout rifle, something's a little squooey.
Yeah, something's a little off there.
Something's, you know, I mean, we're sitting here running around in D1 right now, and I'm just like hung jury, one-shot popping everything in sight with Firefly and triple tap, and it feels so good.
Yeah.
That's a level of power we don't have right now in Destiny 2, and Sandbox is a big reason for it. Perks and whatnot are a big reason, but Sandbox is a big reason for it.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, starting this week, we're going to finally get, maybe not, they don't have to spill the beans on all the Sandbox changes, but some actual concrete details.
Yeah, just trickle in
that
some
they're working
details
on.
here and there. We want to know.
Yeah. This is the only time I'll ever accept trickle as a modifier from Bungie. Is when you're trickling out information on Sandbox changes, because I think we've maintained throughout these past couple of months, especially with how tumultuous they've been.
Yeah.
That while small changes like the mod system and the masterworks and all that kind of stuff is good, the most important change Bungie can make to D2 right now is gonna be Sandbox. How the game feels, how the game plays. And it's the one thing we haven't heard anything about.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's gonna be something that's changing very soon, because
It needs
we kind of need to know.
Yeah.
I don't know if PvP is if a lot of the PvP lords who moved off to other games like Fortnite and whatnot, I don't know if they'll ever be attracted back to Destiny 2 as like their primary PvP experience. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but I do know that they, along with a lot of other players, are looking to see how exactly stuff like the Crucible is going to play before they even consider coming back to invest time in the game.
Yep. So I mean, Worm in the Twitch chat, you know, he mentioned what we were talking about early on about the Sandbox changes seasonally, like what happened to that. Yeah, we did address that we were wondering that as well. You know, it has been 7 months since the game was released, and so yeah, we're right there with you, bud. We're waiting as well to see what's going on with that. But yeah, I'm really expecting to hear more of the Sandbox changes this week as well. We are getting way too close to its release to not know anything about it.
I mean, there's definitely precedent there for Bungie to wait till like a week before the patch comes out before they actually say anything about it.
Yeah.
I don't think they could afford to do that.
Yeah, no, they really
in the
can't.
case of Destiny 2 right now. People are there is definitely a magnifying glass on the game right now and on Bungie. People need to know what exactly is coming to the game, and I think they know that. I do believe they know that. And I would maybe it's hoping for a little bit too much, but I would love it if we got some news about Sandbox changes, but we also got what they used to do in a live stream, a Sandbox live stream, showing those changes, like what they used to do when they would do a ride along in PvP, showing like the changes to sniper rifles and stuff like that. I would love it if Bungie were to go live sometime within the next couple of weeks, with a live stream or two.
Yep.
Just so he doesn't have to be super spooked. Deej doesn't have to be there. It can be Cosmo this time. It can be his turn to host a live stream. Maybe have a couple of people from Sandbox there talking about some of the changes that are coming.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, kind of like Warframe, Wilderman, or kind of like the guys at Massive do with The Division every other week or so, where they have a fireside chat where they just talk about some of the Sandbox changes. It doesn't even have to be concrete things. It can be things that may not be coming at all. But just go and talk about their philosophy and talk about some of the things they'd like to do with PvP.
Yeah.
I think that would do a lot of good. Oh, especially with Sandbox changes. Yacht, you're exactly right about that. I think that'd be great for to demonstrate some of the Sandbox changes. And that would be kind of some of the goodwill things that they could do right now. It would be both informative to the player base who really want to know what's going on with the game. And it would be a great way to kind of attract people back by showing them what Destiny 2 is moving towards.
But one thing to keep in mind, chat, is that meanwhile we are getting the Sandbox change this month. The exotic weapon tuning and Sandbox tuning for the exotics, we're not seeing that until May, I believe.
Yes,
so
I think that got pushed back to May.
Yeah, so we are gonna have to wait another month for those changes, like for the Graviton lands and for Sunshot, to see those in the playing field. So level your expectations on using the exotics as soon as that patch comes out on the 27th.
Yeah, I'm excited for exotic changes, especially since they said for the first time they're going to be tuning exotic armor. And changing the way some of the exotic armors work. I'm really interested in seeing what they mean by that and what exactly they're going to be flipping up.
Yeah,
Stompy's getting a bit of a buff.
Stompy's, in
Lucky Pants.
Yeah, in the update where they mentioned, the exotics that were not getting tuned or touched because they were working perfectly. Two that surprised me that weren't on that list was Cold Heart and Prometheus lens. So it's gonna.
Yeah, I wonder what they're gonna be doing with those two.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead.
I am very happy that they go ahead and move on to questions. Is that what you're gonna?
Yes, I was gonna segue.
Yeah, I was gonna say good idea.
What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, I know I gushed about this a week or so ago, but I'm still very happy that they went out and made that statement that here's the exotics that we're not touching at all. Merciless, Legend of Acreus, what else was on that list? Like after those
Colony,
two, I blanked out because
it was
Colony,
Telesto,
Wardcliff Coil,
Mida.
Basically, all of the best exotics in the game in Destiny 2 right now aren't getting touched.
Yeah.
And I love that because it tells me that they're not going to be nerfing those weapons to bring them down to be more in line with stuff like the tractor cannon or the Sturm. Who even remembers the Sturm? It tells me that they're going to be buffing those exotics, hopefully to come up to the level of utility that something like the Nut Cannon itself, the Legend of Acreus, has. I think that's great. That's exactly what I want to see.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So Alpha KFA in chat asks, do you think they could bring back D1 raids in the Infinite Forest? If they could, what raid would you bring back and why?
Yeah, of course they could.
Oh, they could.
Of course, they could do whatever they want.
As the name implies, they can do whatever they want with the Infinite Forest. They could bring back the old patrol zones with the Infinite Forest. They can allow us to go into Precursor Mercury and patrol there. So again, that name is very heavily implied that they could take whatever they want and apply it to the Infinite Forest and allow us to do it. But what raid would you pick to bring back first, TBL?
Nostalgia just points me towards Vault of Glass. We already saw the Vault of Glass in the Infinite Forest, at least in a cutscene. Yeah. But Vault of Glass is just that premier experience for me in Destiny 1.
Yeah.
With what a raid should be. And I'd love to see it. I'd love to see Vogue weapons and stuff.
I would love to see Crota's End.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, no surprise there. But my choosing is from a technical standpoint. Simply because there are so many things happening in Crota's End, especially in the beginning. So being able to you know, go through that again, and with the updated visuals and the updated particle effects and the thrall, like cursed thrall explosion, the lamps and the ogres coming in at the last second, like
it'd be the greatest strike in Destiny.
The roast goes on. So that would be my pick for Raid to come back.
Also, weapons weren't bad.
Yeah,
Fangavir Ute's pretty darn good.
You know, my necrochasm came from Crota's End.
Yeah, but, you know, and moving on beyond the Infinite Forest, there's certainly a lot of patrol spaces in Destiny 1 that could come back in D2 that really don't have a reason to not be in the game. Stuff like the moon, the Cosmodrome, and there's even kind of hints that that stuff might be coming back either in the upcoming DLC or in the further on expansion with audio files and whatnot in the game that directly reference patrol missions and whatnot that your Guardian can go through for different factions and whatnot on the Dreadnought, on Venus, on Mars, in the Cosmodrome. So that stuff might be coming back anyway. And
it's so funny that you mentioned that, because in today's stream that we were talking about that, and I brought up those audio files, and people that were in stream, we were listening to your smooth voice because I brought up the Planet Destiny video where you covered those audio leaks, and we were listening to them together. So yeah,
it's neat.
Yeah,
and
really cool.
There's a lot of stuff that's packed into the game that might be coming back at a later date.
Yeah,
and yeah, I'd be happy to go back to those old places. It's cool.
And on the next question in chat by Zer's Inventory, which has been pretty decent lately. Do you believe that they will return to random rolls, old weapon slot, and time to kill? Personally, random rolls, probably not. On old weapon slots, if they were to do something, we talked about this a little bit earlier on in the podcast. If they were to do that, it would either be in the massive expansion later on in the fall, because that would require a big retuning of weapons, or in the next iteration of Destiny.
Yeah, I mean, so there are three parts to that, right? So random rolls, time to kill, and then what was the last part?
It was random rolls, time to kill, and what was the question? Weapon slots.
Weapon slots. Okay, so in order of most likely to least likely, time to kill being tuned, I think that's the most likely to happen. Yeah. Right now, I think a lot of people would agree it's a little bit too high in PvP. When like the average time to kill is like 1.1 to 1.2 seconds. That's a long time. And with the movement and all of that kind of stuff, especially with the movement, getting ready to get even faster in Destiny 2 with the Go Fast update in a couple of weeks, it's too easy to get out of engagements. It really emphasizes the whole team shot meta, which was by design, by the way. That's how they designed the game. I think they know that the community would like them to move away from that. So I do believe that they're probably going to be dropping time to kill. It's probably not going to be anything significant. Like, we're not going to be seeing the days of like 0.4, 0.5, and 0.6 second time to kill are gone in Destiny. Yeah. Though that old school year one last word meta is gone. But we're probably going to be seeing things closer towards what we have in Destiny 1 right now, which is like about an average of like 0.8. Maybe 0.9 seconds for a time to kill. I think that's the most likely to happen.
Right.
Second most likely, maybe random rolls. We talked about this earlier in the stream. Random rolls, I think, are a good thing for games like this because they elongate that grind. They give you something to chase after. That's what this game is all about. Yeah. Chasing after loot, you know, whether it's armor and weapons and all kinds of stuff. So RNG on top of RNG in Destiny 1 was kind of bad when you had to, you know, hope that you could even get an Iasaluna to drop for you in PvP. That's the first tier of RNG. Even getting the gun you want to drop in PvP.
Yeah.
From a massive list of items, especially towards the end of D1 when they added in like year one stuff and like Iron Banner stuff and all that, and trials weapons into like the loot drops from shacks and whatnot. That's tier 1 of the RNG. Tier 2 of the RNG is getting the perks that you want, and that breaks off into its own sub-tier. So, it's RNG to get the drop that you want, RNG to get the gun that you want, RNG to get the sight that you want, RNG to get the tier 1 perk that you want, RNG to get the tier 2 perk that you want, which it's crazy. And RNG to get the tier 3 perk that you want.
Yeah.
That's RNG on top of RNG on top of RNG. It gives you a chance at a chance at a chance of getting the God roll weapon.
Right.
That could that's how it was in D1. Mm-hmm. That could probably be tuned down just a bit. Because it was a little bit crazy in Destiny 1. But if you're gonna go to having static rolled weapons, where everything has a set roll, you can't change it, like I said earlier in the stream, you have to have an absolute butt ton of guns and items in the game to earn. Yeah. Hundreds upon hundreds of guns for people to go after. And unfortunately, that's not the case in Destiny 2 right now. Now, to roll it back into the question, do I think random rolls could come back? In some way, yes. I do think they'll probably bring back some form of randomization when it comes to weapon rolls and whatnot. What I would prefer happen is random rolls come back in some fashion, and then when they revamp the mod system later this year, make it so that mods actually matter. Have you looked at mods on weapons in D2? It's basically change your element, get +5 power. That's it. Yeah. And I would like it if mods for weapons in D2 were what you utilize to customize the perks on those guns. Say you get enough counterbalance mods to get on your armor, and you get enough outlaw mods to upgrade your weapon and add the outlaw perk to it or something like that.
Right.
I think that would probably be the best way for them to move forward. Although that's just my opinion. We'll have to see what they're doing. We know mods got pushed back from the May update. We're probably going to be seeing that sometime either during the summer or when the expansion comes out. But yeah, so I think random rolls might come back. Least likely, changing the weapon system.
Yeah.
And that's the one that's going to hurt, because I really like the primary special heavy weapon system. I think it worked perfectly fine in Destiny 1, and the dual primary system in Destiny 2, while I don't hate it, it does make certain weapon types like shotguns and fusion rifles and sniper rifles, it puts them into a really bad spot because they have to directly compete with swords and rocket launchers. Yeah. And LMGs, if those come back, please let those come back. And I don't know what to do in that situation, because I don't know how they would handle it. How would they if they let's imagine they go back to the primary special heavy system. What do they do with all the energy primaries that are in the game right now?
Yeah, they would have to eliminate the burn and dump them into the primary slot.
And that also causes a problem, because if you didn't know, energy weapons intrinsically deal less damage to normal enemies in PvE. That's to compensate for them having a burn on them, so you can burn through shields quicker. Seriously, test it. Go take 2 weapons of the same archetype out into PvE and fire on a non-shielded enemy. The kinetic primary will deal more damage. It's just a little more damage, though. So they would have to change that. They would have to... With the spaghetti code we have in Destiny 2, I could see that causing a lot of structural problems with the game. And I wouldn't expect to see a change to the weapon system coming until we had a major expansion.
Speaking of the spaghetti code, I have to mention, because I just thought this was the silliest thing ever. Towards the very end of the This Week at Bungie blog post for this week, they address the spawn issues that Leviathan is having. Yeah, exactly. You know where I'm going with this. So, the test lead, Mr. John, I can't pronounce his name, so I'm not going to, because I don't want to murder it. He went into detail onto why this happens, and this is what's causing. The issue where players do not respawn in the Leviathan raid is a memory issue due to the size and complexity of the activity, and it will require a code fix. It is caused when a fire team splits up across a large distances while others remain back and swap their gear. Now, this has seemed deemed to be occurring more often in recent weeks because we have updated our loot tables in order to make the Leviathan raid a more rewarding experience with more incentives to return to. And they're still investigating a code fix for the problem, but their solution in the meantime is to stick together as a team when you're trying out your sweet new loot. And I love the game. I love Bungie, but I I laughed a little too hard reading this statement because they broke the code of the game. They broke the code of the game by adding more rewards because of a memory issue. Like, oh my god.
How did that happen?
How does that happen? And like, it's just, I don't know, man. Like, I thought that was like, it sucks because I've been raiding with Ramez on occasion, and it sucks when somebody dies and then we have to restart the encounter. Somebody has to leave. We have to figure out who's causing the issue, and it sucks. But I thought it was just the silliest thing for it to be.
That's so weird.
Yeah, that. Well, and what strikes me is it's the memory issue. Like, I know Leviathan is huge, and I'm sure there's still portions of Leviathan that aren't active yet because we have another raid layer that's coming to it.
Yeah, but more.
I would have thought that since they no longer have old gen systems to worry about, that memory issue wouldn't have been this much of an issue to where it breaks respawn, like the respawn system. You know what I mean?
And same thing's happening with the whole shaders thing, where it's super duper hard for them to fix allowing you to dismantle more than one shader at a time. They had a blog post about that come out a couple weeks ago talking about, well, it's tied to something in the database that breaks everything when we try to change it.
Right.
And things like that, people standing too far away from each other and changing their armor, busting spawn logic in the raid, tells me that, something as heavy duty as changing the weapon system is it's probably going to be a little crazy for Bungie to try to pull off. Yeah. Which is why I'm not that hopeful that it's going to happen.
Yeah, so.
Unfortunately. I'd like for it to, but.
Yeah, so think about that for a sec, chat. Yeah. But I think that's gonna be it for this week, no?
Yeah, I think that's a good enough stopping point. We covered the TWAB. We talked a bit about Iron Banner starting this Tuesday. It is Clash. Have fun with that. Not 6v6 though. Once again, it's not 6v6. That's not happening. I don't think that happens until the Sandbox update goes into effect.
Yeah.
But we covered Nightfalls, how we feel about them. I think overall we like the changes to Nightfalls. We would like to see modifiers come back to the normal Nightfall. I don't feel like there's any reason for those to have gone anywhere, kind of like the shoulder charge change. But Prestige Nightfalls, great.
There you go.
Good job. Good job. We just need a reason to run them.
Yep.
But all right. I do believe that's going to do it for episode 155 of the Planet Destiny podcast. I hope you Guardians enjoyed this kind of different style podcast, us playing a little bit of D1 while we're talking, which, by the way, pat on the back, Nim. You did a great job of hosting all of this while playing at the same time.
Thank you, sir. We got to do it again sometime.
Yeah, I actually kind of like this. I kind of like just playing the game and whatnot. It gave me a couple of things to compare to and just gave me ideas of things to talk about. Like when I talked about the randomization of perks and whatnot, I was legitimately just inspecting a weapon and looking like, oh god, look at all these things that were randomized before. No wonder they got rid of this.
Yes, sir.
Eesh. But that is going to be it for this one, Guardians. We are going to go ahead and get on out of here, but first we're going to let you know where you can find us across the internet and what we've got coming forward.
Wow, you can find me here in the Planet Destiny channel. From time to time, we'll be streaming Destiny 1 in the meantime, and once we get the update on March 27th, I'm definitely going to be coming back into D2. And you can also find me on my personal channel, which TBL so gracefully put the NEM command in chat. So if you guys are curious, there's all the good stuff there. And yeah, how about you?
Me, you can find me everywhere, pretty much everywhere at the internet, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all of it at the Black Link. One word. You'll find me when you hear the sound of this. That's what it sounds like when you subscribe to my channel. And also, something I wanted to ask the live chat here. This is something a little bit different we were trying out here with playing the game while we're talking and streaming. Like, would you like to see this kind of format continue in the future? It might not be an every week thing for the podcast, but I would love to do something like this for shows sometime in the future. So give us your feedback. Let us know what you Guardians think. And thank you all so much for listening or watching episode 155 of the Planet Destiny podcast, your guide to the Destiny universe. We love you, Guardians, and we'll catch you all next week.